Okay, the meeting of the Finance Committee for Thursday, March 25th at 7:15 p.m. will come to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Dave, present the colors.
Okay.
The Pledge of
I
Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We shall do roll call. Ed is here. Bob.
Here.
Chet.
Here.
Dave.
Here.
Diane.
Here.
Scott.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here.
Ben.
Here.
Joel.
Here.
John Anzavino.
Here.
D. John Rock.
Here.
Marty.
Here.
Elliot. Hello, Elliot.
I don't think Elliot will be here on time tonight. He might be here later. I think he's at a planning board meeting.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. It's the thing. All right. Vaughn.
Here.
Enoch.
He's not here yet. I'm checking in with him.
He's here. I see him.
He's showing up.
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, great. He just got in. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
He should say here.
Yep.
Enoch,
Hello?
unmute yourself.
Enoch. Say here.
Here we go.
Okay. So we're only down one. So 14 so far. Okay. Let's see, what are we doing next? All right, just a point of information. We will not be having a joint hearing with the municipal operations or intergovernmental. That is because the selectmen have opted to dismiss Article 26, the construction of the Stoughton Fire Station. So we will not be discussing that at all tonight. Okay, motion to open the public hearing.
So move.
All those in
Second.
favor? Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Dave? Dave Laurie? Stop talking to Enoch. Dave
Yes.
Laurie? Is that a
I'm not
Diane?
going on mute again.
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
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 Ben?
E.
Joel?
Yes.
John Anzavino?
Yes.
D. John Rock?
You're correct, sir.
Marty?
Yes.
Elliot, not here yet. Vaughn?
Yes.
Enoch?
Yes.
All right,
Yay!
we've got 14 so far. All right, we are open. And I'll just mention again that we will not be doing Article 26, the fire station, with the joint committees, because the selectmen have decided to withdraw the article for this town meeting, and it will not be presented on the floor. All right. Tonight, we have Articles 12, 13, and 14, collective bargaining. Which one do you have? You have Speyer, is that correct, Robin?
Yes, that is what we have, Speyer.
And what about the other two for the purposes of tonight's discussion? Should we?
For the purposes of tonight, I do not have anything. I was waiting to hear back on the superiors if they would do a ratification vote. I do have the support of the board for that to move forward. Am I cutting out again? No network.
Yeah, yeah, you're out.
Is that better? That one better?
So far.
Can you hear me better? Is that better now? That should be better.
Yeah, that's better.
No? Okay. So yeah, the superiors, the board has supported the MOA as it stands right now, so we were just waiting for ratification. I was hoping they would get that done today. What I can do is as soon as I have anything from them, you know, if you want to call a special or you want me to just do a Zoom presentation on it where it may not have a vote from you, but at least I could present to you as many of you who could come. which I plan on doing Zoom presentation on, all the articles anyway, and just like we did last time. So, however you want me to play that, but at least we have SPEA tonight. And what I just got you was that fiscal impact note as well, just so you could see the numbers and how they impact the budget. As a reminder, I'm going to try to share my screen here if I can. Vaughn, can you open me up to share?
Should be all set.
Here we go.
Just one moment, okay, just for the public, just so everybody know, this is Article 12, collective bargaining for the SPEA unit. Okay,
So I will have it with the contract for town meeting and in the and for the virtual table, because I know Mr. Anzavino is going to want that. And so I will make sure that I have that as soon as possible in our backup material, which should be long before the virtual table even appears. This MOA is pretty straightforward. If you recall, they came forward and did a 1 year 1.5 in 1920 for 1920 fiscal year. So they took a 1.5, understanding that this was our move to get off the grid. This unit had probably maybe about 12 or 15 people still on that old 2.5 grid. So had we not made any changes, they would still be receiving automatic 2.5s. So this was a big step that we were able to get them off of that. And even groups that, had stayed sort of where some people got the 2.5 and some people didn't, there were still some getting them. And so what we did was just some basic stuff. Start the section on recognition. Why can't I scroll down here? Hold on. I've got my window up, but I'm not able. Oh, there we go. So recognition and association fee. This is a pretty basic one. That's the Janus decision. Again, that's standard language that had to go in because of the Superior Court decision on Janus, the settlement, and then some statutes in. That's in all of our contracts. Vacations and holidays stayed the same, but I did add, we're not giving Christmas Eve as a holiday. Everybody asked for it as a holiday, December 24th. But we usually have very little business in town hall. I am allowing people to take vacation or personal time. They have to take their own time if they don't want to work after 1 o'clock. All offices have to be staffed if it's a public office until 1 o'clock. But, in the past, I haven't let them take the afternoon off completely. I don't want to close town hall, even if I did or force them to use time, because there are people who do not celebrate or don't cook dinner or are just as happy to work and don't want to use their time. So it's just, this doesn't add any time to what they get. It just simply allows them to use some of their time there. Unrelated to that, we did, as part of the deal to get them off the grid, add 4 extra personal hours that they may use. They have to use those within the year or they lose them and they don't get paid out if the employee leaves. There's no monetary tag attached to this. One of the things I want to point out is that these are not public safety jobs where there's a manning requirement. So if somebody takes the time out, there's no backfill here. There's no direct cost. We did add, frankly, legally, we're in a thin line when we don't pay people in these situations. Any non-exempt employee who is called back to work on weekends or after hours for unanticipated emergency situations shall get a minimum of 4 hours of straight pay. We have people who might get called in on a Saturday. For instance, the Board of Health, Larry, over in the Board of Health, I'll use him as an example. If they have some sewer backup somewhere and he has to go to a restaurant on a Sunday, he gets technically no compensation. And they asked if I would at least do that. It does not happen often, but frankly, it only seems right. This does not, however, compensate them if they have to go to a regular planning board meeting, for example, or a conservation commission meeting. They can flex their time on that per their director. If they work till 11 o'clock at night on Tuesday and they come in at 10 on Wednesday, if their boss says that's fine, if they flex a little bit, that's fine. This pay is not for that. This is unexpected, unanticipated emergencies, and the directors will determine that. Here you see they are actually agreeing to totally cross out any reference to a compensation schedule. This was huge for us. This gets us off of any automatic raises. Means that raises are now totally negotiated as adjustment. Eventually, we'll set up a new classification system for them, where starting salary, step 1, 2, 3, like we did with the library. And then they might get it, and then we'll eventually get rid of longevity and put in those, out senior steps. But we haven't done that yet with them. But at this point, there is no reference to any grid for them. This section on the grades, we did still leave the grades in place, even though there's really not a grid anymore, just so we had a sense of where the groupings fell. Some of these that are crossed out, actually the executive assistant to the town manager got crossed out and put back in. That position does belong there. The assistant building and zoning commissioner position no longer exists. It's now the code enforcement manager. So we corrected that. The CYA youth counselor program admin 1 is there. That had been there. I think that this is just was just some cleanup language. And then the further down, which should be in there, and I don't see it, and I think it just got lost, is the animal control officer. That is a new position in this union. We had created this into the union back sometime, I'm trying to think, maybe last year sometime. And it may have been during the 1.5 agreement, but it never got put into the agreement. And it made sense that that is a labor position. And then,
where is that supposed to be?
that's in the grade 6. That belongs in the grade 6 area. And you'll see, I think the salary for it should be on your salary schedule that you're gonna get. And then everything else is pretty straightforward. The language changes. The town clerk is no longer listed as a grade 10 because that was one of the positions that when it was vacated, it had been negotiated that it would come out of the union. There were several jobs in this union that had been negotiated prior to my arrival that when they are vacated, they will come out of the union. They were director level positions that probably never should have been in the union in the first place. And this was an old negotiation. So where you see crossouts are positions that have since been vacated. And so they no longer fall into that area. Same as the, you see recreation director got crossed off because Matt is not in the union. Stephanie is no longer in the union. That position is no longer in the union. Town accountant, library director, director of assessing, and the veterans agent are still slotted to come out when those people vacate. This was just, some of this cross out was language that we had been going back and forth with, but what you'll see is unfortunately got put down below. But we'll start with fiscal. I want to just take you down to where a paragraph should read. For fiscal year 21, all employees shall receive a 2.5. I want to be clear, many of them had already received a 1.5, so you see a clarification here. Any employee who had not reached step 10 from the former pay grid and received a 1.5 increase in 20. What happened was the 1920 had everybody getting a 1.5. When 20 hit, because those people had been on the old grid, they automatically already got a 1.5 because we no longer did the 2.5s. They got a 1.5 and everybody else got 0. So for people who already got a 1.5, they'll only get 1% more. For people who got nothing, they'll get the 2.5. And then in 22, it's a 1.75. And in 23, it's a 1.75. They asked if we would consider, and I mentioned this last night, tying it to non-union. So starting in 23, and as it turns out, it's fine for 22 because both union and non-union are getting 1.75. If a non-union town employees receive a pay increase greater than 1.5, and that excludes any individual salary adjustments because of job description or duties. But this is generally what the overall body gets. The SPA union members shall receive an increase equal to the pay increase for non-union employees. So they just wanted to be kept whole. It is a professional level association, and that seemed fair. And then just the duration language, and that's it. So I just want to draw your attention to the fiscal note. Let me share a different screen. There we go. Can you see that? No, probably not. Hold on. Let me stop the share and share a new one. So here's the fiscal note. This is not what is impacting the current budget. This is actually, whoops. Do you see do you guys see an Excel sheet right now or the Word document? You see an Excel sheet?
Excel.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Great. So what you're seeing is the fiscal impact note. And again, this does not impact, this is not an increased budget because these positions I had already accounted for. If you recall, I had built in, you'll see, when you had asked me earlier on why some of these people look like they had 4% raises or 4 and 5% raises, it was because some of them had a 0 in this current year. Some had a 1.5. And then we knew we'd have that plus whatever next year's would be because this contract hadn't been ratified. So instead of doing that separate labor line item like I did last year that seemed to cause all sorts of unrest, we just built the 2 years into this year's line. So that 2021 increase of 2.5 has some impact on the current year's budget, but it will not impact what you're looking to use for free cash that we've talked about. We're still well within being able to withstand this. If I took out of the current labor line item that's in there, I actually more than would cover it, but I know that we're targeting that for snow. That labor relations line item, I believe you guys have that scheduled as part of the snow budget. So we'll just weather that within some departments. The change is very minimal. It's 28,000 across the board, all departments. In some of those cases, again, it's only a 1% increase. Then if you look for the out years, in 22 and 23, it's an increase of about 34,000 total in 22 and an increase of 36,600 in 23. And that's total on the budget. That 34 is not above what's in our current budget, the budget that's in front of you right now for next year. That is all that our budget that I have in there will be able to withstand these 2 years rolled in. It was designed that way. So that is it in a nutshell.
Okay. So we're okay for 21. We don't need any extra money. 22 is already built in there somewhere. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It's built right into the salary line items. We used to pay employees that had like 4 and some had 5. It was because some had a 0% increase and others that had a 1.5. The most anybody's going to get is the 2.5 plus the 1.75. Other people will get 1 plus 1.75 because they already got 1.5. This is to try to get rid of this ridiculous split. Who gets what? Some get some. We just got to fix this.
Yep. Okay. Who's got questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Vaughn, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there was a comment that it wouldn't increase the budgets in any way. Would it possibly decrease the budgets in any way where we could maybe move some of that money out, for the budget this year? I'm just asking just because.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I know Sue is kind of working on that, what we have budgeted now. I haven't had a chance to pour through it enough. It might tweak. It would be minimal because we did build enough in there to cover this and didn't go too overboard. But it would be minimal, but it might, and I just haven't had a chance to do that. But Mr. Nokian, that's a fair question, and we certainly, it was a thought I had. Maybe we have a little extra somewhere, and it might be that some people there might be an extra, $1,000 here, $1,000 there that we could recover.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sure. Where do we begin?
Mr. Chairman?
Yep. Who's that?
It's,
Chet,
Chet.
Good, Chet.
Hi. Good evening, Dr. Graham. I have a question on grade 8 on the program coordinator 1. You have written down 3 total, but there's 4 names there.
Okay.
There's Tapper, Dawson, Patton, and Cardoza. Is there a number error, or do we only have 3? But on
that
this sheet,
could be.
on your spreadsheet, you have all 4 people there.
Yeah, it should say 4. If the spreadsheet reflects the 4, the spreadsheet is what's accurate.
Okay. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
No, no, thank you. I'll correct that before we roll that into any documents.
Okay, anybody else?
All right.
Yeah, John, go ahead, John.
Well, obviously, we really haven't had too much time to go through the spreadsheet since it just come in, but can you explain why the 21, which was at a 2.5%, I understand it, the change was 28.7, and then you got 34 and 36 for the next 2 fiscal years.
Yep. What's the question?
Well, I'm looking at the increase for 21, which says it's a 2.5%.
Yep.
It shows a change of 28.7, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next 2 years, it's 34 and 36.
Right.
Quite a jump from the 29. Is that?
Yeah, because some of those had 0 and got a full 2.5. Others of those had only a 1% increase, and then it's just the 1.75s on the out. So it's you're seeing that bigger jump. It also may be, hold on, that we had one position that was zeroed. I'm trying to see if we had anybody that was zeroed and then filled. That's possibly, yeah, it might be because the animal control officer was filled in 21. I don't know if that is the change. I'm just trying to see where the change was, the biggest change. Yeah, because if you look, those 2.5s are on our largest, highest salaried employees. That's why. The highest salaried employees had received zeros because they were off the grid. The lower salaried employees had received their 1.5s that were still on the grid, people with less seniority or less years on. So if they had more than 10 years on, we have people with much more than 10 years on. So when you added 2.5 to their salaries, it ended up, you'll see these jumps of 2,000, you know, the increase, 3,000, 1,800. But then if you look the next year, their increase is dramatically lower at 1.75. I think it's the jump on the higher numbers. That's the only thing I can figure looking at that quickly.
All right. Well.
And just as an aside, to Mr. Collins' question, actually one of those is a program coordinator 2. So there are 3 program coordinator 1s and 1 program coordinator 2, Mr. Collins.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else, Mr. Anzavino?
Yes. Just go back to your section 4. You had a note that you were wondering if you had to get rid of the whole section, or because we didn't get the existing contract, so all we have is this marked up, crossed out, and everything else. So did you?
That is a note. That's a note to myself. Actually, we don't. The existing section just gets completely eliminated. This is just straightforward legal language that gets added in. We did this in all the contracts. But that was just a note to myself to confirm with the lawyers. This was a document that went literally back and forth between Spare and me, so you get a couple of my, unfortunately, you see my thinking on paper, which is scary.
And
we should have to see that.
And on your sick and miscellaneous leave, the reason for the extra, this is just for any reason, they can just take these hours, there's no.
Yeah, these are personal hours. This was basically sort of a give, if you will, for coming off the grid. This was just something, you know, we look at it with these employees. These employees are higher paid than, let's say, our THEA employees as a rule. So the 1.75s were healthy for the town because we, you know, going up on these salaries does impact the town. But they're professional employees who put a lot of hours in that they don't necessarily get paid extra for, to do things like late night meetings and things like that. And this just gives them a little extra time.
But this is not their only sick leave or anything.
No, they have their regular sick leave and their regular vacation time. This is just 4 hours more that they can take. I will tell you, we don't have an absentee problem as a rule with this union. We don't have directors scratching their heads saying, you know, my employees are never here, or I always am approved of vacation. we have a real professional staff. So I'm not seeing that work isn't getting done, even as thin as our staff is. And they're really pushed pretty hard. So this seemed like a fair trade to me, 4 hours that didn't have a fiscal impact. Most of these are not people who are working front desks where, you know, that staffing number is so important because the public comes in and we need to serve, you know, how many people come in. These are people who do a lot of work behind the scenes, that it's not so much whether they're at their desk, it's, you know, did they get their work completed? They still have to document their hours. You know, I know in engineering, for example, Mark has a sign-in sheet and a sign-out sheet. So people's hours are documented, but this just gives them a little more time.
Right, and under, pardon me, on Article 10, you now have any non-exempt. So you have exempt and non-exempt in here?
Oh, yeah, there are some exempt employees, but it's complicated. The history of this is something we have to weed through. I think pretty much they're all non-exempt. I believe they are all non-exempt now. There had been a history where some weren't, because remember, we had a lot of positions that have left that union now, the director level positions. I think right now only Mark and myself are, possibly the two of us are exempt, and maybe Janice. But I have to check on that. But the vast majority of these employees are non-exempt.
All right.
So by law, it's a little bit of a fine line if they've already worked well over 40 hours and they come in on a Saturday and they don't get something. I mean, we legally have to do something, compensatory time, whatever it might be. This is not a frequently occurring situation, and they agreed to straight pay on it versus overtime. So it seemed fair.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I understand if you're non-exempt, you know, you have to work the 40 hours to get extra. At least in the state, unless your contract calls for just having 40 hours of paid time. And again, we don't have the contract, so I don't know. This just says add that any non-exempt employee who is called into work on weekends or after hours, you know, et cetera, will be given 4 hours straight pay.
Yeah, and this would be regardless of what their work week is.
And then on your Article 13, you've crossed out a whole section, and you mentioned something about job classifications or whatever, but the next line says that the association agrees pursuant to said job classification. That's just what's down below here as far as
That's just what's down below. There is no more compensation schedule. That was the key, that we had to get rid of the lines about compensation schedule. So there's no guaranteed raises except what's negotiated.
All right, and I know that a lot of these seem to have, I don't know if it's footnotes or whatever next one, or is that supposed to be the quantity of people that are in there?
Some of those are the quantity. Some of the note, like a program coordinator 1, and to go back, for example, under grade 8 to Mr. Collins' question, program coordinator 1, there were 3 total, but there actually is also a program coordinator 2, which should have been left up above, and that would have been Stephanie Patton.
Okay, and pardon me. Like you had registered nurse, which is crossed out now, was full. Are there for this that we don't know or don't see? Or?
No, that position doesn't exist anymore, I don't believe.
All
that
right.
full-time position no longer exists.
Okay. And let's see. I think that was it. Actually, it was even just in the. I guess that was it. I guess just that was it there. Just at the end under Article 16, the duration.
That has to be adjusted, I believe. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, well, it said July 1st, 2010.
Yeah. Yes.
21.
Apparently, I'd like to be 11 years younger. I don't really want to pull the clock back 11 years, actually. Keep it where it is.
And that was it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Mr. Anzavino.
Thank you, Robin.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question for Dr. Graham. Just to piggyback sort of on what John Anzavino just said about 18 hours. So how do people take that? Is it a whole day? Do they leave 2 hours or come in 2 hours later? Or I'm not exactly sure. 18 doesn't divide well into,
That's why it's basically, it had been 14, so it had been a standard 2. Most people work technically a 7-hour day because lunch isn't paid. So what happens is 14 is effectively about 2 days. This was a little more than another half day. They can take in hourly increments. So for example, if, it's a beautiful day and your work is done and your boss says it's okay, and you want to use 2 personal hours, you can.
okay,
We
okay.
do allow Deanna,
But they can use a whole day if they so choose.
absolutely,
If
they could
they
use
get it
7
approved.
hours, 8 hours,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Or
All right, thank you.
Thursday, because Thursday's a long day. If they took a whole Thursday, they would have more hours off. This allows us to account for the Thursday or the half day Friday by doing it hourly. It's a real account of what day they take off.
Oh, okay, so how many hours do you work on a Friday? It's 4?
Friday is till noon. Yeah, it's 3.5, and then Thursday is the 8:37.
Okay, so they
So
could
if they
use,
took Thursday
yeah,
off, they're docked more than 7 hours.
Right.
They get docked the full, right.
okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Who's that? Anybody else?
Ed, I have a few questions.
Okay, Bob.
Yeah, good evening. What is the standard work week for these individuals, as far as hours are concerned?
Most are 35, a few are 40. For instance, the dispatch supervisor is 40 because of the nature of the dispatcher schedule. There were some people under a prior town manager that, and we've talked about this, got elevated to 40 hours, and I'm not sure why in salaried positions, because these really are salaried positions effectively. I'm not sure why that happened. It, in a weird way, gave raises to people by giving them more hours, but unless you make them come in those hours, and some do. It depends on the department they're in. Some departments are 40 hours. The vast majority of them, Mr. Desmond, are 35-hour expected 35-hour employees. Again, a lot of them, many of them work more because they're salaried employees, and then they have, evening meetings, for example.
Okay, so it ranges from 35, 37 and a half to 40.
Yep.
Okay, and can you just give me a rough estimate as far as the individuals that didn't get the 2.5% raise?
The ones that didn't.
You're talking 3, 4 people, or are you talking?
I think it was 5.
5 people?
I think it was 5 or 6 people. Yep, and the rest got a 1.5.
Okay, and can you just explain when you indicated the union versus non-union? So if someone was doing the same position, you indicated that they would get stepped up as far as the raise percentage. Could you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, no, that's not position by position. That's overall. So, for example, last year, I had put non-unions in for 1.5.
Right.
And the first year I got it, when I asked these people to take a 1.5, I had non-unions at 1.5. Next year, as a whole, we put non-unions at 1.75. They're saying that, let's say going forward in 23, I would give non-unions a 2. Okay. They're saying that they're 1.75. They would get parity. It's a parity clause.
Okay, so they would
I'm comfortable with that because I typically will not give non-unions more than a similar professional level performance union like this.
Okay.
It just isn't appropriate. That's why I asked non-unions to take less that very first year to set this up, and they took that hit for us.
Okay.
But it was helpful to establish that protocol. I had no problem. I don't usually like to tie things like that. In this case, I felt comfortable with it.
Okay, thank you. No, I appreciate that explanation. And so my next question would just be kind of as far as negotiations are concerned. I hear each time you speak in reference to the grid. So from your perspective, and again, I don't want to, as far as negotiations are concerned, but from your perspective, that the grid wasn't a good thing that was put in place.
No, at the time that it was put in, as I understand it, Stoughton employees were significantly underpaid to comparable communities. And the grid was an effort to get those people, to good, fair salaries to encourage people to want to stay. And that was at 2.5%. But the problem was the inadvertent side effect of this was it was 2.5 automatic every year for 10 years. And then once they hit year 10, it was a presumed 2.5.
Right.
So
okay.
you just kept getting 2.5% every year. Well, 20 years ago, labor raises used to be 2.5 to 3%. but we're not at 20 years ago. And now, you know, the more reasonable rate that we see, that I see with my surrounding communities, is usually 2 to 2.5, somewhere within there. But for example, now when we're looking at some financially tough times, I don't want to be locked into a 2.5. And if you look, we're getting 1.5s and 1.75s for the most part next year. So the grid tied our hands. The other thing the grid did is it never went up. So the problem is step one on the grid is 10 years old. So if I hire someone, I can't hire them at step one. They'll never come in. Now we're back to disproportionately low. So you end up hiring somebody at step 5. Well, that's not fair to somebody who worked 5 years to get to that salary.
Correct.
So we're trying, if I go now, if you look at what we did with the library and you look at what we did with, I think it was DPW, we've got new wage scales like most communities, like a lot of communities do, where the first 3 or 4 years, you actually get a step and a COLA. So you might get 3.2% your first 3 years. So you're earning that and you're learning the job. And then you don't get anything except the COLA, which keeps your COLAs lower. And until maybe you hit a 5-year seniority step or a 12-year step. And that's when we get rid of the longevity, which makes Mr. Anzavino happy. Okay.
Just seems like this was put in place about 5 years ago, and you know, we at that time, you know, we're undoing now the effects of that, which is unfortunate. But okay, thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I actually think, I'm not sure exactly how long, believe it or not, and I know time flies. I think it may be closer to 8 or 10 years now that this has been going on. So it's been a lot of money out. I would defer to you on that because you were here longer than I was, but I think it goes back a little further.
Okay. Too long. Either way, thank you. I appreciate the explanation.
Too long. Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
John Rock has a question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Rock.
Yeah, Dr. Grimm, hi. Hi, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. Did you say that there's only 3 or 4 exempt employees in town?
Yeah, there are very few exempt. I think the building inspector, I am, Mark is, there are just a few exempt employees.
You know, that seems odd to me. It just seems like, I mean, the definition for exempt is, you know, there's various categories: executive, professional, administration, and then there's, you know, definitions for those. But it would sure seem like a department head would be an exempt employee.
Well, in this union, yeah, there may be a few department heads that are. I have to go through and look. I think part of the problem we faced was a lot of our department heads came out of this union because those department head positions were in the union. And so when they came out, that status probably didn't change. There seems to be a lot of confusion about this, and it came up as part of this discussion where the word non-exempt came in because of this overtime thing. And to be honest with you, when I talked to Deanna about it, I'm like, who is and who's not? And she's like, we really need to go through this. So
yeah, I would recommend that because not classifying people in the correct exempt, non-exempt category can be very costly.
Yes.
And you know, I've been told to lean towards, if you have any doubt, classify them, well, if there's doubt, like a secretary or something. Even though it's an administrative secretary and they may see confidential stuff, lean towards non-exempt. But anybody with control over their own, you know, their own action, the department, they can display initiative, people report to them, you know, I would think would be an exempt. And I would think you would have quite a few of them. Anybody that has a professional license, that sort of thing. And so anyway, I would recommend going through that very carefully. That's really a worthwhile exercise. And the other question I have is, can non-exempt employees negotiate away their right to earn overtime for extra hours beyond their work week, beyond their 40-hour work week. For instance, you said you were going to pay them, 4 hours of straight time or something like that. I mean, can a union negotiate the right, the fundamental right under the Fair Labor Standards Act to overtime for non-exempt employees?
I think we have to compensate in some way. I think the term of the compensation may be negotiable. I'll confirm the legality on that. That's a good question. As I understand it, it has to be because I think it could be compensatory time.
Yeah, I don't know. Anybody that's non-exempt and entitled to overtime, I think they have to be paid overtime. I don't think there's like, all right, comp time, or yeah, all right, we'll pay you something, I mean, that's the difference between exempt and non-exempt, and that's why it's so important to make sure everybody who can be classified as exempt be classified as such. So, anyways, those are.
I'll check on the legality on that.
Yeah, I'm not really that knowledgeable about unions, but I am fairly knowledgeable about classifications for exempt and non-exempt, and I know it's a very important distinction. So, anyways.
Okay, no, I definitely will follow up. The worst case scenario, if you're correct that they can't negotiate that to straight, then it would have to be the 4 hours of overtime. And again, it would be a minimal offset, I think. But let me be sure on that. Let me just be sure.
Yeah, because otherwise there could be legal action. So.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Point of information.
When it comes to overtime, it depends on what you have in your contract versus what the state requires. Now, I'm pretty sure this state requires that once you work 40 hours in a week, you need overtime if you're a non-exempt employee. Now, when they say work, it's work. That's hours worked, not if you take a few vacation days, so forth. So if it's not in your contract that you get overtime if you work more than 8 hours in that workday, or however it's worded, the contract can exceed what the state requires. But I don't think there's an issue if you say we negotiated that if we get called in for an emergency, we'll get a minimum 4 hours pay at straight time. So, I mean, there's many things that come into this, and a lot of people find out the hard way if they were union and their contract was better than what the law required, and then they go out and they start working, and all of a sudden they have a holiday and they work 4 days, and then they come in on a Saturday and they find out the Saturday was straight time because they didn't work Monday, it was a holiday. So there's many different facets to how they look at that. So
yeah, John, right. It has to be actual worked hours. It can't include holidays or the sick time or anything like that. But I'd just like to say it's not a state law, it's a federal law. It's the Fair Labor Standard Act, which governs. So
I'll definitely check on it. We don't need a little thing like that becoming a nightmare. It's not so little once it becomes a nightmare.
And then I have one other question. Did I hear you right? You said you do have non-exempt employees that are salaried. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, well, nobody technically, I mean, the problem is we have everybody gets paid by wage, hourly wage. It's expected that people work different hours. I mean, we treat them as salaried employees. And again, this is why, for instance, Mark keeps a timesheet of his employees, for example, so that we get back to this question of how many actual hours did you work? What time did you walk in and what time did you leave? They're technically not salaried because they're paid when they have an hour, they're 35 hours a week. They're hourly employees technically.
But that doesn't really govern whether they're exempt or non-exempt.
No, that's separate.
Everybody hourly, but they could be exempt.
Yep.
Or they could, I mean, you could pay, someone who's non-exempt a salary, but it doesn't matter, they're still entitled to the overtime. So how you pay them doesn't govern,
It
whether
depends.
whether they meet the definitions
Right.
of exempt and non-exempt, and they're laid out in the Fair Labor Standards Act, and I would just recommend running this by, well, I'm sure you have labor lawyers, so they look
Yeah,
at the
no, yeah,
contract.
absolutely. And they've seen this, but I just want to make sure that they didn't, that it didn't get missed. Because I have run this through them. I always send something through them before I would put it out. But just in case it was an oversight, because it was a sort of a minimal portion of this, I'll have them look at it again. And Mr. Andino, I think part of the complication of this is typically your directors are salaried, and I have directors in this union, and I have directors that came out of this union. So some are, there are people in this union who are salaried. The directors are salaried employees.
But
so it's a mix.
Yeah, it seems highly unusual that there'd only be a few employees classified as exempt in a town. How many employees are there? I don't know, what, like 500 or
300 on the municipal side? Yeah, 3 and change on the municipal side, almost 400, yep.
Yeah.
I'll follow up, I agree.
Okay.
And as I said, Deanna and I talked about this. This is just crazy. There's a craziness to this that doesn't feel right, frankly, so.
All right, thanks, I'll drop it, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Okay. I think we're done with the spare.
Thank you.
All right, so give us the quick update on Thayer. It sounds like you're not gonna have anything, is that correct?
Well, I might. I mean, we're hammering out some terms. We've got some numbers. They've gone 2 years with some people having zeros and other people having 2.5s. So, they really need to be settled soon. I have sent them back a counter. They had a couple small items on it that would need change. I can tell you that if we get something in front of you, it will be very similar to this from the standpoint of types of changes, very minimal, relatively minimal types of changes. So it's not going to be anything highly complicated like a fire contract. So I'm hopeful if I can get Thea and maybe the superior officers in front of you, we could do maybe one short meeting, or I could do Zoom informationals, for anybody who wanted to attend. But I just can't guarantee a time. The board has seen the superior officers and supported it. They have not yet seen the Thea.
Well, let's look at it this way. The board's probably gonna meet next week. I don't think they're gonna do anything. The week after the election, they won't meet till the week after that. So we're out into the middle of April by now, before they bless anything, so.
Yeah. If Thea falls in right, I mean, it's a minimal enough changes. If I get something in the next day or two, if I have something, tomorrow, Friday, if I can catch up to them and I have something Friday or Monday, I have to I keep it on the agenda for the board so that if it comes in Friday or Monday, it's on the agenda, and the board conceivably could see it Tuesday night if it comes in. And like I said, they've already seen the superiors. So that's just to pull another trigger.
Okay.
Doing my best, guys. I know I'm trying.
No, I'm just trying to think about, do we want to close the public hearing on these things, or do we want to kick it one more week, or just, this is it, too bad. We'll deal with it in April later, have another meeting or something. Anybody got any thoughts on, process?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the public hearing so we can start our deliberations.
Second.
I was just gonna say something like that to you, Eddie, because you were in the big rush last night saying, we gotta go. Now you wanna push it out. You know what? We got a motion in a second. I say we shut it down.
Okay, hold on a second before we do that. I saw Victor here. Is Victor here?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Why don't we keep the hearing open and we hear what Victor has to say about the Cedar Hill equipment stuff, and then we'll close it. Everybody okay with that?
I'll make it very brief.
Mr. Chairman, I'll withdraw my motion. I didn't realize Victor was here to give us the information we were asking for last night.
Yep, okay, thank you. Okay,
Thanks, Victor.
Victor, thanks for coming by tonight, appreciate it.
I apologize about last night, something came up at the, I did talk to Robin briefly, and I know that she's already hit on a few of these points. I'll just reiterate or clarify a little bit here and let you guys ask questions.
Well, let me give you the quick overview from what we had, to get the right kind of starting point here. It started at about 235 or whatever. You took off something for 50-ish. The article says 200. That adds up to 182 and change or whatever. So, and we had the four pieces broken down, or maybe an attachment, to 81, 40, 35, and 26. So, are you looking for the 182? Are you looking for 200? Is it something else? Where's our
in the original? Sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, I just want to know where's the starting point, and then you can describe the equipment.
Perfect. So the original quote, when we took off, there was 5 machines on it originally. Robin asked me if there was anything that I can do as far as bringing it down. She asked if I could take the $80,000 machine off. I said that's one of the ones that's pretty much dead. And I said if I could take the $50,000 one off, but we'll have to put some money into it, which we did all winter long. And it looks like we're going to be operational. We should be able to get through another couple seasons. We put a lot of time and effort into it, but it looks like we should be able to get through probably at least 2 more years. So that brought us down to 183 and change is the number that you have there. The only problem is that their prices went up by 3% in December, and it just went a bit. Honestly, some of that 200 was a little bit of a cushion, honestly, just because I don't have the current quote, because it's only good for like 30 days or something like that. And it's hard to keep asking him to rewrite it. So we just went just a little bit above to cushion whatever else would be there. But basically what's on that contract is all that it would be, those 4 items. It could be 183 plus 3%. I don't know if there's any other little changes. It is a state contract. I mean, so we do get the 21% discount. But give or take a couple dollars there. I'm not quick on the math right now, but.
Okay, so go over the 4 pieces of equipment, the 81, the 40, the 35, and the 26, just so we know what they are, because they all sound like the same stuff.
They do. I understand that, and they all look the same. They're all red. So the very first machine on there is going to be the 4700. That is the rough unit. That is meant to cut the grass, which we cut at 2.5 inches, as you would your home lawn mower, but it's a lot bigger so that we can handle cutting 40 acres every day. The second unit down is going to be the approach mower. The second one down is the $40,000 one. That is the greens mower. That would handle the lower cuts, kind of speed up the process. We have the walking mower, but this would cut time in half. And especially on tournament days and really busy days, such as, Sundays, Saturdays, Fridays, and league days are all getting insane. So with my limited staff at 25 hours a week, roughly each guy, we really need to try to maximize their efficiency on the course. The next unit down, the $35,000 machine, is the approach unit. That is going to be cut at about 1/2 inch. That is the area that surrounds the green and the approach that leads up to it, the first 50 yards or so. To change the height on these machines, first off, you'll notice that one has different blades. One has an 11 blade, one has an 8 blade. The 8 blade unit you can't use on the greens. The 11 blade you can't. You could buy extra units and swap them out, but you end up looking at about a 2.5 hour turnaround, and you can't cut both in the same day. The 2 units that those are replacing are 100% dead. They've had 3 changes since those machines came out, in 1996 and 1998. and getting parts for them has become ridiculously impossible, and safety concerns are definitely picking up. If you think about a machine that's 23 years old, safety standards have changed, and let alone them being 23 years old, the standards that OSHA has set above and beyond that are all different as well. And then the last machine is going to be the Toro Workman. If anyone's been by the course, there's a green machine that's sitting out in the parking lot by the back of the building. That machine is pretty much 100% dead. Clutch, transmission, the clutch, the brakes, and is it the transmission that needs to be? Whatever it is, I had DPW come down and look at it, and there's just no way. There are no parts available for it, and that would be the Workman. That pulls the sander. It does the heavier lifting that the little golf carts can't handle, like sand, dirt, logs, sticks. The little tiny golf carts are no good for that. They're good for carrying around a weed whacker or a toolbox, and that's about it. So that's the 4 machines in general. And like I said, the quote that I had gotten back in, I think, October when we wrote this was after we took off the 1 machine, it was $183,000. I believe it's a 3% increase, give or take a little bit there. So once that, I can get another quote from him, but that's where we're at. Without these machines, the course conditions will drop dramatically, and play will drop dramatically, and efficiency as far as the work that gets done there is going to drop dramatically.
Okay, what other equipment do you have that's up there? Because we bought a sprayer, we bought a small cutter, we bought something else 3 years ago, some other kind of mower. What else do we have?
We bought a hand mower for the greens 3 years ago, and we did buy we bought the spray rig, which it hasn't even been delivered yet. We haven't implemented that yet. But other than that, we do have a couple other mowers. Like I said, 4 of them are dead at the moment. We have the roller for the greens. I have the top dresser, but I have nothing to pull it with, and we have the tractor that we bought a couple years ago. The rough unit that we're replacing, we do have one at the course at the moment. Right now, during the week, you figure with them working about 25 hours, it would be operational about 20 of those hours. And right now we're averaging about 5 hours of it actually being operational per week. I mean, not at this exact moment because nothing's growing, but it will be. I am planning on going out with the first kind of trim cut. Will be about next week, depending upon the growing degree days between now and then.
All right, so you got like another roller thing and a top dresser thing and some other thing. So is that all the type of equipment?
Yes, sir. There's with all the different heights of cut, and when you're mowing that low, like the greens are mowed at about 1/8 of an inch. When you mow that low, it can really affect play a lot if you allow it to get any higher than it should be. And unfortunately, those conditions cause golfers to get upset. So we do have to mow it on a very regular basis, and we, in changing cups, and there is a lot that goes around as far as equipment goes, and we don't have any backups, if that's what you're saying. We have nothing that we can fall back on with these machines down. We're kind of dead in the water. It's going to be real interesting.
I'm just trying to get a handle on the fleet, what we have kind of. We're hearing everything's junk, but we're buying things every year, and then now it's looking for 5 pieces. I just want to get us the overview of our fleet. So it's all this stuff, plus this roller, top dresser, and the stuff we already got.
Right.
Is that total fleet?
This is for daily operations, and this, the tractor is great, is mandatory to, but not on a daily basis. It was, it was a great equipment buy, and everything else was running at the time. Now everything has kind of failed all at once. They're collectively 106 years old, and these are absolutely essential for daily maintenance. If once these are replaced, as far as daily maintenance machines, you're looking at a 10 to 15 year window for the size of our course before they have to be replaced again. It should not go to 25. I would be hard pressed to say that they would make it to 25 to 30 years again.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's possible, but I would say 10 to 15 to be on the safe side. Let's say 15.
Yeah, just curious, because we don't replace everything in the same year, because we're gonna try to stagger some things for capital purchases going forward to kind of a 5-year budget thing, but,
Yes, sir.
just to get an overview of the fleet, and then where are we? Because a lot, like, obviously, these 4 pieces are hurt, so,
Right.
just
As
kinda
far
want
as
to-
these machines go, as far as having, having to replace them, and I'm only going purely off of hearsay, so I probably maybe shouldn't quote it 100%, but I was told that there was a former superintendent that didn't put any money whatsoever into preventative maintenance and only took care of things as they broke. That is not my objective. I spend the entire winter in the basement taking everything apart, cleaning, repairing, sharpening, and getting everything ready for the spring. And with the correct preventative maintenance, those things should have no problem getting to 15 years, if not longer, without any substantial inputs.
Okay, not that I want to do this, but I have to do this. Can you rank these 4 pieces in terms of, most important, 1, 2, 3, 4, from your perspective?
Every one of them would be a 1. If I say 1, then but I can't do the other job. Honestly, I really couldn't do that. If you're not putting sand on the greens, then you have nothing to pull the top dresser with. You end up with a lot of disease issues, drainage issues, bumpy, hard, compacted turf where the roots don't grow. If you're not mowing on a regular basis, the roots, the tops get tall and the roots, don't grow. If honestly, it would be, those 4 machines are literally go out every single day, and every single one of them is important.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
Eddie,
Well, let's see if he's done. You all done, Victor?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was just answering your question there. So.
Okay, all right. Okay, good, Scott.
through you to Victor, I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but I think he needs these 4 pieces. Do you not hear what the guy's saying? I don't think you can rank them because they're linked together. If you see what he's just said about what has to cut what and what has to cut what, the golf course is going forward. We spent a ton of dough on a 5-par.
Cool, yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's not prudent to go forward with giving this guy what he needs.
Thank you.
Everybody,
I second.
It's just he's digging in. He's doing what he's doing. I never thought I'd hear myself say it, but he needs these 4. Everybody else is getting things. They're heavy hitting, and they ain't asked to rank them. And I don't want you to rank them. I think he has to go forward with this so that he can succeed. I'm tired of seeing people not succeed and they don't get what they need, or the personnel. So he's only got guys that are working part-time. He just needs the help. Let's see what we can do. Please.
Ed?
All right,
Thank you, sir.
who's that?
I've had my hand up.
Who's that? John, good?
Yes. Yeah, I have to agree with what Scott said. I think he was looking at my notes.
I'm not
At
that
any
good.
rate, yeah. Victor,
Yes, sir.
you buy these 4 pieces of equipment. Are you going to be all set for a little while?
Yes, sir. We would be all set for a little while. If there were anything that Cedar Hill as a whole would ask for, first off, I'd hope to find it in retained earnings. With how well the course is plan to do. Just so you know, we had an absolute record day on Sunday, which beats Father's Day and our best Sundays out there, and the grass isn't even growing yet. So it's just kind of pave the way for the year and kind of let you know where we're at. But yes, we'd be all set as far as daily maintenance. If I mean, we're considering, asking somewhere down the line, a couple years from now, maybe a steel building for the golf carts or something like that. But we're talking, it would go on the 5-year plan and not next year's plan. So, this is kind of ended up coming up as an emergency. Just to back up on one thing real quick, as the moderator, the chair asked that, as far as ranking things, if you wanted to look at it into a different perspective so you can kind of understand, if you think of a landscaper or a landscape company, sending them out with just a lawnmower, not a weed whacker, not a leaf blower, not having all the parts are essential in order for them to do the correct job to make the customer happy. And that's essentially on a much, much larger scale with much finer detail is exactly what I'm doing. So just to throw it in perspective, I don't know if that helps or not.
Yeah, so each one of these pieces of equipment performs a unique task, which will make either a golf course a decent golf course, or lacking them, it'll be a crappy golf course, and people won't want to go there. Each one complements the other. One mows the rough, one mows the approach, one mows the greens, and they can't be swapped out. So, I personally think that Cedar Hill will, I don't think local golf, just my opinion, is going to drop off. And I think the course will continue to do well as long as it's maintained. And so, I think it's essential to make this investment as long as we're not called back every year to, and go on a 5-year plan or something. But I strongly support this, and I urge everybody else to do it. And I'm thinking of taking up golf myself, so it's in my own self-interest.
All right.
We are the best learning course out there. If you can get it right on our course, you can get it right anywhere else. But you're right. I don't think golf is going to drop off, especially at our price point. Anybody that was affected financially, they're not going to the big courses. I'm not talking about 18-hole courses. I'm talking about the expensive courses. They're finding they may treat themselves every once in a while, but they're practicing and learning at places like ours. So that isn't one of our gems. So.
All right. Thanks a lot, Victor. I think you're doing a great
Very
job.
well. Thank you.
Eddie,
Anybody else?
Eddie, one more thing. Don't forget, Victor's success here also carries the person who's the concessionaire. So if we don't do it, it's all going to tumble. Everything that we've worked for and watched out for will just tumble. So I just want to add that.
Great point, Scott.
Victor, what's the lead time on getting this equipment? I mean, you've got the sprayers almost a year old or whatever, October or whatever. When can you get this stuff?
Once, I guess we did wait till funding on July 1, but I guess it would all depend on bond count. Once I order it, it's about a 6-week turnaround. So we're still looking mid-year. It's going to be an interesting year trying to juggle the rest of it. But I did get from the salesperson that runs the state contract, said that they might be able to drop off a demo once they know that things are going forward, and if it say it gets approved at town meeting, he might be able to drop off a demo or two to kind of help out with some of that.
Mr. Chairman, John has his hand up, Jess has her hand up, Ben has his hand up.
Okay. We'll have, okay, John, Jess, and then Ben. Go ahead, John.
Well, Jess was up first, so,
Okay, go ahead, Jess.
as was Ben, so I'll wait till the end.
All right.
Thanks, John. So I guess one of the questions that's coming to my mind is if our entire fleet of maintenance equipment was failing, and at this point, why did we spend $350,000 to add a new hole rather than spending $183,000 to fix the equipment to maintain the course first, and then move to expand the course? That's my first question.
Well, at the time, those were working, and number two, 350,000 came out of CPC. So that was not something that I started. That was started by Forrest Lindwall. I actually had no part in the initial idea of it. They asked me what I thought, and I said sure, and then they started to run with it, and then I was on board after that. Is the honest answer. But there are a lot of things that I would have put as a priority before that. But one part of that I really did like was that, like I said in the initial pitch at town meeting, with other course, with our competition in the area, the ability to serve the younger golfer that can drive it really far, to have something that they can do at our course with that. They like to hit it. It would be a really nice feature to add in order to bring in new people, and that's always been the goal. So that, as much as it wasn't my priority, it did quickly become a very, very important aspect. But at the time, our equipment was working, and we were working on trying to keep it going. But at this point, like I said, some of the parts have become really, really hard to come by. We've been looking. We got one part that came in from Washington State, and turned out it wasn't for our machine as much as we thought it was, but it's not it. So that machine is still down. We're looking for things in people's graveyards and see if they have anything laying around right now.
So are none of these pieces of equipment working at all then at this point? I mean, how are you even?
Out of the four, three are not working at all. One of the machines I am able to compensate, which would be the Workman, the bottom one. I borrow the one from Strawberry Valley on a regular basis. As far as the other three, the rough unit is on its last leg, which is the $80,000 machine. Like I said, it's usually when he goes out there, we either end up towing it in, or it's sitting there overnight until we can get out there, and depending upon how many people are out there, whether or not we can drive a truck out there to get it moving again. And the other two are 100% dead. So the 23100s. So you won't see those drive again.
Okay. And so one of the other questions I had yesterday was just about the cost of, it looks like the first piece of equipment, that's the $80,000 machine. So that's just a very expensive piece of equipment. And I'm wondering whether or not, this is the going rate. There are other pieces of equipment that could be used to do a similar job. I mean, it sounds like you're calling this one the rough cut machine. Is that a place where maybe we could save by not buying an $82,000 machine? I can see that the other ones are a little bit more specialized in what they do, sort of polishing the place off kind of a thing. But is it possible to get away with something that's less expensive than that?
The only one to get it any smaller, we would, in order to get everything cut, we would need two of them, and we would need more than one person. We would obviously need to hire another person to drive it. That unit, we can get the job done in a day with that, but it's still one operator all day long, and that's all he does. If you went with anything smaller, you'd end up we wouldn't get everything cut. You'd end up having to hire somebody and buy two machines.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to again second the comments of Mr. Carrara as well as Mr. Rock. My sense is that Victor has been sort of hanging these pieces of equipment on for years through all of means of repair, and I'm sure glue and lipstick and whatever else you can repair a piece of equipment like this with. So I think we should make the investments now. I do want to encourage Victor and whoever is in charge with these kinds of purchases to get these items as quickly as possible. I do think that it's a mistake to think that demand is not going to change. Folks are looking for outside safe activities, and I wouldn't want to make these investments and not have that demand change sort of after we do that. I imagine that golf is one of those things where you return to the place that you love and that you're comfortable at, and that you are sort of the sort of the favorite bar sort of a scenario. And so I hope that while the golf course is hot, we can make investments to sort of grow the clientele and grow the relationships with all the folks who are engaging this. My last thing is, I just want to thank Victor for not bringing back the fancy mini golf place. I so appreciate that is not an article this year. And
So-
I wish him all the best. And please don't tell me you're bringing it back, because
No, I am not, especially with the addition of the, with the par five. My only thought was I just wanted to do something for the community, and I was trying to find another way that we could bring in money in order to make things. It was basically a crutch for the golf course was the thought of it. And that's the inside of my head. That's what I was looking at it as, and I have since. And actually, the town manager even warned me and said it's probably not the right time, and y'all let me know that right away. But it's actually probably a much better thing. If you want to spend that kind of money, I actually have some much better ways for us to bring in money that's strictly golf course related. So,
it sounds
but
like
we're
y'all
not
have been-
asking for that anytime soon.
in partnership with Recreation, it sounds like you guys have been really creative and adaptive to try to get different types of community members down there too, through the movie nights, and I'm sure there's all kinds of other ideas. So I would suggest you continue those things. And I commend you for that. So thank you.
Absolutely, yes. We're happy to get the extra community involvement. So thanks, Ben.
Okay, John Anzavino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Victor, pardon me. I'll just say that I do agree with a number of the previous speakers that, we've waited so long and come so close to getting this place self-sufficient. It would be a shame to stop short and be able to maintain the course. And I think one excellent point too that Scott brought up was it does affect the concessionaire. If the course is lousy, no one's coming. I do support it. I just wanted to make note, you had mentioned that, with the price changes or what have you, because I did raise that question last night about the drop, the one that got dropped and the difference in cost. But as I looked at your quote here, the one of the last lines on there is, this does not include sales tax. And we all know that Massachusetts likes it 6.25%. And that puts the number at 194,797. So you don't have as you might have thought, or what people might have thought you had.
No, municipalities don't pay tax anyway.
They don't pay any at all? All right. I wasn't sure. That's because on the quote it says, it doesn't include it. So I wasn't sure. I thought I'd mention it, but that's even.
No, like I said, there was the 3%. It's 183 plus 3%, and I believe all the setup costs and everything else is in there. So other than that, we're
about 190. So if you never know. All right. Well, that's all. Like I said, I will support this one. And, hopefully we get that thing rolling and we're not subsidizing that all shop. And I agree with the people being cooped up for the year and this being one of their only outlets. If they've gotten used to it, they won't go completely away from it. If they like it that much, they'll be back. They may find other things to do and spend their money on, but I still think it'll be better than it was. So, good luck with it down there, and let's hope we get this thing rolling.
Thank you, sir.
All right, anybody else?
Diane has her hand up, and I'll have questions too, Mr. Chairman, but Diane should speak first. She had her hand up. Thank you.
Okay.
I want to commend, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to commend Victor too. I am not on that side of town. I live so close to Canton that often, but every time I go by, that parking lot is full, and I think it's great. My only question to Victor is, where this is a large sum of money, I kind of see what Jess is saying about should we buy it all at once. Is there any way that we can just rent a couple of these machines for a year and not buy them all at the same time?
The cost of renting them for a year would probably be just about the same amount as buying them. It's they do have a couple places, specialty places have a weekly rate. The weekly rate, you're looking at like $900 for that. The rough unit that we were talking about, $900 for the week or something like that, plus a delivery charge of like almost $800. So it's not really. I don't see it being a valued option. You'd be throwing a lot of money away to have to spend it again next year.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Vaughn, go ahead.
Chet has had his hand up.
Oh, okay. Go
I'll
ahead,
let
Chet.
Vaughn go first.
Chet, you should go first. Thank you.
No, please.
I insist you should go.
No, please.
Who's on first?
Go ahead,
All right.
Vaughn.
Somebody go.
You should go, Chet. Thank you.
All right. I just want to, hi, Victor. I just want to say that I play golf at Cedar Hill quite a lot. And I've been there when Victor's equipment has broken down, especially the spreader, I believe. That one time we were trying to get it fixed out there and had the whole tank full of fertilizer. But we need this equipment to attract golfers and keep the golfers. Past year, we had a lot of new people come to the golf course and played, and they came back because the conditions were good. We had a great summer. The last thing I want to say is, if you mow it, they will come. Thank you.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you,
Give
Chet.
one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree that eventually you have to buy equipment for facilities. That makes sense. I'm just a little bit concerned that all of a sudden everything has broken down. When does golf start? Maybe somebody can tell me. I don't know when golf starts.
It started on St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. Oh, okay. Thank you. When does golf end?
Last year it ended in the first week in January.
Okay. So I guess I'm confused. Last year everything worked right up till January and then all died then. What have we been doing since St. Patrick's Day?
No, well, right now the grass isn't growing. So but no, the machines did not work last year, all year. We improvised, we cut corners, we had other superintendents come down and help. I've had other mechanics come down and help. We've had DPW mechanics down to help, and had everybody look through everything. You know, we needed diesel specialty guys. So that one of the, Matt from the DPW came down. Tony's been down. They've welded things back together. We've zip tied some stuff together, mocking a comment from earlier. Minus the lipstick, we didn't do that one. Ben. But we're at a point now. So what I ended up having to do last year is I literally would mow for the last part of the season. There was 2 mowers that one went down. I was able to get one running again, but I was only able to mow it twice a week instead of the 7 times a week that we do, because I was taking it apart and putting it back together for the other height, with the different rollers, different motor on it, and then you have to adjust everything and basically recalibrate everything 100% to get it to go at the other height. And the reel speed is different versus the travel speed for the frequency of cut. There's a lot of factors that are involved by changing the number of blades, by changing the speed and the height of cut.
So the machinery worked though, is what you're saying, or we just had that we had a lot of people over there. Is that
we monkeyed it together? Yes.
Do we have any records of all the people and time that they spent going over there?
No, I didn't really keep a record of that. I mean, I can go back to my text messages and see how many people I called on certain days, but that would take me a while.
Okay. Yeah, like I say, I agree that stuff has to get replaced sooner or later. I would honestly like to have known about this maybe last year, and then we could come up with like a plan, some sort of a 5-year plan or whatever, where we replace a piece every year or two, and that way it's spread out. Because I'm a little bit concerned with the subsidy that the golf course is getting. I know it's only $9,000 now, but according to the town accountant last night, this would add $25,000 on, which would bring it to, assuming that it's still $9,000, it would bring it to about $34,000 in subsidy, which is almost 4 times what it is now. That's why I'm a little bit concerned about this whole thing, because if we had known about it in advance or had a plan every year to replace something, I appreciate the chairman's comments about, if you could rank them 1 to 4 or whatever, if there was some sort of way we could stagger this, because I'm also concerned we get all 4 of these and then down the road they're all going to die at the same time again. We're going to be in the same situation, and that's my concern. I agree we need the equipment. I'm going to give it some thought. I'm just concerned about this plan, I guess you'd call.
There is a payment option that they have. It's called a lease to own program, and basically that $200,000 would be split up over 5 payments, and then there's a dollar buyout at the end, and they hand you you're all done and you own them. So after 5 years, they could be paid for it. That's an option with the state contract and with so. If that would help ease, I don't, if you don't want to do the 183 off the top, or maybe you guys get I don't know if there's a rate that goes with that or not, honestly.
Well, no, that makes a question if it's becomes a.
Let me just finish this here.
Is that a budget item instead of a borrowing? So.
But like I was saying, that the discussion last night wasn't about paying all 183 at once anyway. It was talking about bonding it over 10 years, which is a $25,000 payment. To break it up over 5 payments, it'd be about $40,000, which would be an even higher subsidy. So I don't think that would be a better way to go with it. But anyway, those are my concerns. I would like to see some sort of a plan. I appreciate, for example, the fire department has an excellent replacement plan. We know 5 years from now what they're going to buy. I think it's great. I understand, like I said, I understand we need the equipment. I'm going to give it some thought. I'd like to see a plan. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right, anybody else on the golf course equipment?
Can we get COVID money, Eddie?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I had my hand up, Eddie, if that's all right.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment because over the years I've always been against any investment on the Cedar Hill Golf Course, because I thought of it as a very, very narrowed interest with when people could do just about anything to stay healthy. They could go to gyms, they could do hiking in Blue Hills. There's all kinds of activities that all the different groups can do on their own, and they could do it privately and on their own. And so where the whole town had to pay for that narrow interest, that's where I kind of had a problem, because it was like it's been said earlier, with all the subsidies that had to go over there. But what I learned in this past year with COVID is that, thank God we had a golf course. I mean, everything else was shut down, and it became popular because of the great work that Victor has done. Because if he didn't do a great job, then the numbers wouldn't have been that great, because people would have found other places to golf, because it would have been, it would have been frowned upon because, oh, you went to Cedar Hill because it was a lousy experience. So I want to give Victor a lot of credit for making it a place where people are excited to go and get help and stay healthy and outdoors. I don't know what the protocols are for distancing and masking and all that, but I think if there are areas in our town that we could get out and start to get back to normal, I'm all for it, and I'm going to be in favor of this article, as opposed to maybe the past. So I didn't know what it was like to have a pandemic, but now that we've gone through it, I'm like, well, thank goodness we had a golf course and it was well run. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Eddie. I have one more thing to say.
Go ahead.
All right, you don't look too happy about it, but look, I appreciate people's concerns for 5-year plans and things like that. But it's not Victor's fault that these 25-year-old machines all crapped out at the same time. And do we really want him jerry-rigging and working on these machines, which I assume are somewhat dangerous? I mean, they're cutting machines. And do we want people operating them? With, all these blades, 11-blade thing, an 8-blade thing. I mean, I would think that's an incredible hazard. So I think people really need to think about that. I mean, these are cutting machines. And, if you're jerry-rigging them and putting bubble gum on them, somebody's going to get hurt. So I think we owe Victor the courtesy of his expertise in these things, the fact that he didn't wait 25 years to replace them. They all went at once. And, I think give him the courtesy of operating the course. I think it's a real danger to be screwing around with these machines. Thank you.
Ed, Eddie,
Yeah,
I guess something quick so that everybody understands the predicament he's in with parts. It used to be when a company, being in the business, companies that produce equipment at a large rate had to keep parts on the shelf and made for about 15 years. When Obama took over, they were trying to do away with the carbon footprint and all that. So they considered doing away with parts so that the older machines would go off and it would boost the economy by buying new stuff. Doesn't mean the new stuff's better. It just means you can get parts for it. The actual window of opportunity for parts are between 7 and 10 years. Then you're doing like Victor. You're hunting. Caterpillar has something called vintage parts now. So if you have a machine that's 20 or older, you can get vintage parts. So I know what he's going through, and it might not sound like you go, oh, that machine's only 6-7 years old. Well, they already stopped making the parts for it. And when they're off the shelf, they're off the shelf. So you got to start going on the internet and finding out who's got a carcass someplace.
100% right.
Sounds like Gold Rush. All right. Anybody else? We got a pretty good background on this now. So anybody else? All right. Thanks, Victor.
Thank you, everybody, for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Appreciate the talk. Thank you.
Mr. Rowe, are you out there? Bill, you out there?
Mr. Chairman, Bill Rowe, Town Accountant.
Yeah, what is the process from bond counsel, the timeline, if this gets approved in May? Because bond counsel likes to have all the stuff in the papers and blah, blah, blah. And when can you get the okay to spend the money? Because if it's July, August, September, it doesn't do Victor a lot of good. So can you clue us in on that?
Well, after town meeting, we need to send bond counsel the results of the votes. And then bond counsel creates what's called a requirements letter and sends out the requirements letter to us. Paula coordinates it. She parses out to each department who needs to do what. And we send it to Paula, then we send it back in. Then she'll say, oh, bond counsel will say, well, you're missing this, I need this, or, this follow us back and forth.
Yep.
The last process, we just got approved 3 weeks ago for borrowing for the October special. So, hopefully we can turn it around a little faster. But,
But you
bond
can't-
council's not the hold. Bond council's not the holdup. It's, we have to get bond council the information in a timely fashion. So.
Can you, we normally go out to bond in October, generally speaking. Can you buy stuff before that, or do you have to wait for the bonding? We do a ban or whatever, before that, or?
I'm not comfortable, Mr. Chairman, letting departments spend before we get the okay to borrow.
Okay.
The bond council is technically our underwriter. And you can't tell an underwriter, just give me the cash and I'll give you my tax returns, a month from now. That's not the way it works. So, I'm not comfortable letting the town spend that money when we don't know when it comes time to borrow if we're going to be able to borrow.
Right.
I'd rather put the horse before the cart.
I got you. Okay, that's why I want to find out. All right, gives us an idea of how that might work. Okay.
Well, with that, I'm gonna put my motion back on the floor to close the public hearing.
Sounds good. We have a second. Okay. We've been through all the articles, we're through everything, so we're gonna close the public hearing. Okay, Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
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 Ben?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Don Angelino?
Yes.
D. John Rock?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
Elliot? Yeah? No. Vaughn?
Yes.
Enoch?
Yes.
Okay. We are closed for the public hearings. All right, now it's just us, the FinCom.
Just a point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I know Bill is on the line. He recently, very recently, sent out an email answering a question that was raised last night regarding the funds with the sewer project. And I'll defer to Bill if he'd like to give you the good news.
Oh, yeah, fine. I didn't see about that yet, so.
Well,
Let's hear it.
I was running the meeting. I was reading something.
Oh,
Mr. Chairman?
yes, sir, Mr. O.
Yeah, I just sent out a memo. Talked to Mark today. He's not going to need any money for the Park Street Sewer Project in fiscal 22. So that means we only need to budget for half a year of interest in fiscal 22. So I'm recommending that we lower the sewer debt service budget by $105,842, and that would lower the general fund subsidy by an equal amount. So.
You're comfortable with doing that? Feel good?
That email.
And that is news that we
that
love.
email went out. That email went out about an hour or so ago.
Yeah. You're comfortable doing it? Sure.
I am. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Well, that might solve another problem.
Yeah, that has a new sheet on it, Ed, showing the recap and so forth. You know, we had a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Well, we got to do some other stuff first.
So does that mean we can have a snowstorm now?
No.
No, that's the next question.
Bite your
No
tongue.
more
Desmond.
1997.
Yeah. Yeah. No more 30 inches.
I lost
Okay.
power for 3 days on April 1st, 1997.
That's all?
Yeah.
You got to get a
Not
generator.
supposed to get snow on the Cape.
I work for a utility and I got myself a generator.
Yeah, get that commercial.
I plowed for about 42 hours that time.
42 hours, wow. All right, so that's good news. That brings us to another question now.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to that last discussion about the reducing the subsidy by, what was it, 105, how many dollars exactly?
105,842.
105,842. So that means the new subsidy is now 105,842.
I don't know.
I'm asking.
Is that the subsidy number or is that the reduction in interest number?
That's the reduction, Mr. Chairman. So it's 91,782.
91,782 is the new subsidy.
Correct.
Okay. Chairman, has the select board replied to your request about the sewer rates?
Not that I know of. I have not
They have
seen
not
anything.
replied?
It was under consideration. I guess it's still under consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It hasn't been put on the agenda, so I do not know. All right. All right, so that brings us to the question of the stormwater. There's an article for 100 grand in stormwater. It's been brought up before that this probably should be in the budget. Because it's gonna be an annual thing, we would have to comply every year with whatever we gotta do, blah, blah, blah. So I guess the question would be, do you wanna put that into the engineering budget, the 100,000, which would be offset by this 100,000 we just saved, and we're back to the same place where we are.
How
So
much
what do
is the, Eddie, how much is the fine if we don't do it?
What, I have no idea, I don't know.
If it's like 5 grand, I say we don't put the money in.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about it.
I don't know what the fine is.
You gotta wait.
I hear nothing.
Robin, block your ears.
I don't hear a thing.
I think some of this stuff is project type stuff. It's not just paperwork type stuff.
You know, I know you're talking about something slightly different, but I think it's important that I add this in now. I did talk to JC about the conservation district, if they could spare some of that money, if they could vote out about 30. They actually do not feel they can because they have a lot of work to do at Ames Pond. So they do have that money accounted for and do plan on spending it. I have a letter from him somewhere in my emails that just came in this evening addressing that, but I had a long talk with him about it. He would be very, very concerned about that. They are looking to spend it. They do have it earmarked.
The whole 50?
Yeah, the whole amount, but I think it's 60, 66. They do plan on using it.
It's 50,000, so.
Yeah, whatever, yeah, I just, let me see if I can find that letter. Hold on one second. He messaged me that he sent it, but I do not, let's see.
And Scotty, I think you're referring to the beg forgiveness instead of asking permission.
That letter of support from the Wetlands Revolving Fund. This basically was, do you want me to deal with this now? Because I know it impacts how you're splitting this money up, so.
Right.
Would it be possible to send a letter so we could share that with the
Yeah.
committee?
Yep, let me forward this. I'm gonna forward this email to you right now.
Thank you. It was mentioned the other night by a former member of the Conservation Commission or committee that it's not something that gets voted out by them anyway. Is what was told the other night. So
Right, but this is, yeah.
I'd be interested to see the list of projects that they have, because if it's involved with the lake, I'm wondering if they might be covering what would be in the article anyway. And there are limited uses for the revolving fund anyway, so thank you.
Vaughn, what was that you said, that they don't vote it out?
I thought that's what
No, I thought they said they did. I may have misheard, but.
I thought that a member of this committee who used to be on Concom said that they don't vote it out, that it's not a vote. That's what I thought I heard the other night. Is that correct or no?
I heard it the other way. I thought they do, so.
Okay.
But I can't swear to it. I just,
I think Mr. Rowe corrected,
me.
When someone spoke. I don't want to speak for Mr. Rowe, but I think that's what the conversation was, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
so Vaughn, we probably both heard it, Vaughn, the way we heard it. One said yes and one said no.
Okay, but so it has to get voted out by them. So could we get a letter, that letter that says what their projects are this year?
I just sent it to you.
Okay.
Yep, you have it.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to derail the stormwater discussion, but I know if we're looking at where we can pick up funds here and there, I thought you needed to hear that.
No, appreciate the response. That's what we asked last night, is if they had earmarks for it. You might just have to battle it out.
All right, so we gotta find that money then, the other 36,000.
Well,
to fund that article. We got 30 of, we gotta find the 35 or 6.
In regards to your point of the 100,000, that just my own opinion is, we hadn't done it yet, and if we put it in, it doesn't do anything for us this year, whether we put it in or we go the other way.
Right.
But it's something that maybe we should just make Mark aware that next year we'll be looking for that to be in his budget. And maybe this year we'll just attack it the way.
All right, well, yeah, maybe you can put it in starting next year.
You know?
No problem, we're gonna have to borrow for it, but, man,
With the cash, you know?
we'll see. All right, so that's kind of that. So I guess the answer we'll say is no to putting it in the budget, so that's out. All right. Mr. Rowe, unpaid bills, those clerks, how are we gonna pay for that? Can we take it out of the clerk's budget for 21, or just make that work, can we make that happen?
I checked with the department heads involved, Mr. Chairman, and they really don't have the money in their current budget to cover those. Except for the fire, I think there's one for $98 for the fire department or something.
All right.
But clerks in building don't really have that kind of money in their budget.
They don't, I thought one of the clerk position was unfilled for a while. Do we have any money in that line item?
That came back as turn back money to you.
Okay. All right, so we got
You already took that. You already took that.
I'm looking for more.
You can only squeeze a rock once, Eddie.
Hey, just the tax code, you can squeeze it twice. All right. All right, do we know anything more about, is Sue here, about Southeast Regional? I'm assuming our number we have is still okay. Have we seen a letter from them or anything?
I have not gotten a letter. I've asked, I think the letter has gone to Paula and Reggie in the past, and I've asked to get it as soon as they receive it.
So as of tonight, we don't know. We're still assuming it's the same number. Okay, so that's kind of where that one's at. All right, now that brings us to the snow budget. Mr. Rowe, Mr. Fitzgerald says he's got 30,000 more coming in invoices. Would that add to your 342, so we're at 372, or how would you look at that?
Yeah, that's what I would say, Mr. Chairman, 372.
All right, and currently budgeted, we have the 400 from when we started with back in January. Is that correct?
400 on the revenue sheet. 400 on the revenue sheet. Yeah.
All right. That answers that question. Now, the buildings, the roofs, what do we have for unused cash and articles that we might be able to use for those projects? Do we have anything?
I'm going to try to have that for you next week, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot of stuff out there, so that's been in process. I've been trying to pick away at it as amongst all the other things that have been going on in our department. So, but I hope to have that for you next week before you vote.
Do you think you'll have enough? 50, 68,000 or so?
For which, the roofs?
Yeah, the 50 and the 18, 68,000.
Oh yeah, well the Wilkins doors and windows, there's like 795,000 there alone. So any building projects out there, we won't need to borrow it all. We'd be able to fund it all with that at least, and there's some other stuff too. So.
All right, so that like 10 years to 10 years or whatever, that works. Okay, all right.
20 to 20, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, so that we got that
building
one
projects
covered.
are 20. Actually, building projects are 30, but we do 20. So.
But we can get that one covered. I suppose we can use the building fund if we had to pay cash for that if we had to too. So. Right. So we got that one covered. So that'll bring up the question of the capital items. Was it Article 19? We could probably scrape a little more out of the budget and maybe squeeze these out and pay cash for a lot of this stuff. The question becomes the,
Really?
the Cedar Hill items.
Sure.
I'm a little concerned if we go to borrowing on all of it, he may not get this stuff till October, which won't do him a lot of good. So maybe we think about paying some cash for some of this stuff and borrowing some of it potentially. I don't know, but it's a consideration. And depending how we allocate what we have, that's how it would sort of go. So you can keep that in mind. All right, so
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
sure.
Maybe through you to Mr. Rowe. What exactly was Vincent talking about that he could put it on a kind of a time thing that they would let you do it for 0% interest over 5 years under the state contract? Would that help us at all?
That's a lease.
Yeah, I never heard of that before, but I mean, usually the treasurer with their borrowing could beat any leasing company.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
you talk about, you know.
And then it becomes a question, is it an operating item or can you borrow for it? It's really a lease, which is an operating type expense, so it should go in the budget, but I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Well, he said there's a buyout, so technically it's a capital lease, so it would have to be, have to come before town meeting.
Yeah, so we just keep muddying the waters. All right, so I guess we have enough to cover the deficit with what we discussed last week. And we have this extra 105 from the interest on the sewer project that just freed up. But without sitting here doing a whole bunch of plus minus in to get the exact place of where we're at.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
396,812.
Okay. So that's where we are currently with that in. All right, how do you guys feel about on the capital purchase items? I'll run through them and see what you think, and you can kind of yay or nay, generally speaking, on how we look at the world. The 3 cruises, everybody with me, Article 19 on the warrant, capital purchases we did the other night? The first one of the 3 cruises, we'll have to borrow for that. The tasers, we'll set it up to borrow, even though the chief thinks they might get some grants. So we'll pay cash for the storage shed, cash for the defibrillators. I'd like to start with cash for all the fire department stuff, it's about $195,000. The wood chipper box will pay cash for the 25. We'll have to borrow for the trash truck. The vehicles on the pool cars, maybe we cut it to 1 for 35 and pay cash. The sewer department truck, that'll get borrowed in the enterprise fund. And then Cedar Hill, we're sitting here with around 200. I don't know how you want to carve it up or how you want to look at that. I'm just a little concerned, if we borrow the whole thing, he might not see his equipment till later, but I'm not sure. From that perspective. Then we have to cover the weeds.
Excuse me, Ed, this is Dave.
Yep.
Is there pieces of equipment that Victor would need in a shorter term where the stuff that he would use late in the season could be pushed out and purchased in the borrowing requirement? Like, can you split it?
I don't know. It's if you look at the dollars, those 4 pieces. I mean, his rough mower he probably needs, but he's been milking the cow now. Maybe he can get away with it a little longer. I don't know. The greens mower you kind of got to have. You got to keep your greens in good shape. His Toro truck, that's like his workhorse. He runs around with all that stuff all day long. So I think he's going to need that. And this approach thing, I don't know, maybe not, the 35 thing around the greens, it fixes the aprons and things. Maybe we can think about those three pieces and borrow the 81 or whatever, 85, whatever number it's gonna be, as a thought. So he doesn't have to wait around for bond counsel, whenever that's gonna be.
Yeah, it's not like one big item at 200,000. It's a bunch of things that he needs.
So that's a thought as far as that goes.
I have a thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, did you just say that we were going to pay cash for all of the fire equipment?
Yeah, that was a thought, yeah.
Why not switch it out? I mean, why not just borrow for the fire equipment and then pay cash for the Cedar Hill stuff? It's about the same price.
Yep, we could do that. Well, yeah. Yeah, we could do that, I guess. All right, so that's another idea. And we have to cover the weeds. We've got the 31 that we have. We need another 36. We'll have to come out of this so-called scrape pot of money. Another 36. We got the building covered.
Mr. Chairman, can I just interrupt you for a second? Because you talked about, just because some of the weed thing there. I'm just curious about this. Are we collecting fines for violations under the Wetlands Bylaw? And is that going into the general fund at this point? I'm reading this email that we got, this letter we got.
No, it's probably going in that conservation fund.
Well, according to this letter, it's not. That's why I'm asking.
JC indicated to me that I think the fines go into the general fund. Bill can confirm that, but that's what JC indicated to me.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, good, Mr. Rowe.
Okay, the Wetlands Bylaw Fund, that's separate from the Conservation Commission Revolving Fund. We get a piece of the money to administer the Wetlands Bylaw. And I'm not sure if 50% goes to I don't think 50% goes to the state. No, I can't remember whether he sends half to the state and we keep half and put it in the Wetlands Fund to administer the bylaw. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I looked at that. But,
all right.
But yeah, that's money that's separate from the Conservation Commission. That's to administer the state wetlands bylaw.
So the Wetlands Bylaw, those fines are going into the general fund. Is that what you're saying?
No, they go into the wetlands. I'm not sure, Vaughn, if part goes into the general. No, I think if it's a town, he collects town bylaw. If it's a town bylaw fee, then it goes into the general fund. If it's to enforce the State Wetlands Protection Act, then it goes into the wetlands. The fees go into the wetlands. I don't want to call it a revolving fund, but it operates like a revolving fund.
Okay.
It goes into the wetlands fund.
Can we get an email?
And then they use that money.
Could we get an email clarifying all this? What money is going into what? Because I'm curious if we have environmental violations or wetlands violations, and that's going into the general fund, and then we don't have money in the revolving fund to take care of the environmental issues at the lakes. That's why I'm asking all this, because according to the letter, it says that they collected $33,000 in fines for violations under the Wetlands Bylaw in the current fiscal year alone. This is deposited in the general fund, is what it says in this letter, in this email. That's why I'm trying to get clarification on where the fine money is going, and then also what money actually is going into the revolving fund, because there are fines that should be going into the Concom revolving fund too. So I'd like to get a clarification, what fines go to the revolving fund, what fines are going into the general fund. If we could get some clarification, that'd be great.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was talking about the wrong fund, Vaughn. When I read the letter, it seemed like he was talking something different than the revolving fund.
Yeah, I saw that, but that's why I was trying to get some clarification, because, I mean, according to the revolving fund, there's money that's supposed to be going into the revolving fund to take care of things like this. And now we don't have, well, the money's there, but now I guess we can't use it or something. So that's why I'm asking where the other money's going from.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if he's mixing up two different funds here.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean.
That's all right. Just kind of.
I wanted to get clarification. Thank you.
Well, we need
more little funds around. We have no love.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Yeah, I spoke to Jim Conlon today, who had spoken to Mr. McDonald, the chair, and they've got that 50,000 earmarked for other stuff. So that's why they asked for the 66 from the town meeting.
Do we know what it's earmarked for? That's what I was wondering earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to check with the Conservation Commission.
As I said, they indicated that, yeah, they indicated to me that there's been a change in some of the work with Ames Pond, separate from the lake management stuff, and that originally the first year they did it, they had like some $80,000 expense to catch it up to where it needed to be, and now annually that alone, I think he said, is about a $30,000 expense. So just Ames Pond alone eats up a big hunk of that money.
Okay, thank you. I think the lakes are really a nice asset, you'd say, of Stoughton, and I'd like to kind of get to the bottom of that. Thank you very much.
All right, so the only thing I don't know we have is unpaid bills. I didn't print that sheet off. Bill, how much is the unpaid bills? Is it like 18,000 or something?
I have 24,870. I'm not sure if that's right. I'd have to let me see if I can find the handout.
Yeah, I didn't print that off tonight. All right, so that's another 24 we got to come up. We can probably scrape some more stuff in the budget to find that. All right, so we ought to cover that one. We talked about the capital purchases ideas. Bill, we can fund the roofs either through articles or building funds. We got that covered. And we'll have to scrape to finish off the rest of the weeds. We need another 36,000. It looks like we can make that work. Stormwater is going to have to stay and be a borrowing. And the bylaw.
Mr. Chairman?
And that's all the big stuff. Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
Years ago, some of the old timers on the committee, right, remember, they would vote, and then if they were voting a borrowing, they would say, we vote to borrow with the exception that if Mr. Rowe finds some old bond proceeds to apply to it, we'd apply that to it. And then after the vote, I would go ahead and, get everything together. But if somebody wants to know specifically what old article is going to be used to finance the new article, then you wouldn't be able to vote that way.
Right. Well, you're going to have that.
But they did used to do it that way. They vote borrowing and other sources if Mr. Rowe can find them. So
that's an idea. We haven't done that.
And them on a treasure hunt.
All right. But you'll have that information for us next week, right, Bill? The available.
I hope to. Yeah, I hope to. I'll try to come up with something. Something that's understandable.
Okay. So I guess that is our general outline then. We have enough to cover the deficit. If we have to scrape a little more, we'll find a little more. We're going to pay cash for as much of the capital items that we think are appropriate in that area. And then we're going to have the weeds covered. We've got the buildings covered. And in the 24, we'll have to get the extra cash to work. So that's the general outline of what we're going to do.
Mr. Chairman?
With that? Yep.
Can I just ask, how much would we end up borrowing?
Well,
not exact, just a ballpark figure.
Well, what do you call borrowing? Everything, only general?
No, what you're just saying, what we have cash for and end up borrowing for the rest. Approximately, what are we talking for rest?
Well, I didn't do it all. Let's do this real quick.
Okay.
You got the study for $750, the 3 cruisers for $225, the trash truck $300, let's throw in the, fire, we're gonna pay cash for Cedar Hill, let's say, that's 210, or whatever, 200. That's 1475. The storm management's another 100, 1575. And maybe some other small thing I didn't pick up, I don't know. The tasers are 67, but we're gonna supposedly get us a grant for a lot of that, so we may not borrow it, but. So throw in another 100, say, so about 1675 to the general fund. Then we're borrowing 11 or 1200 for, a 1.2 for the sewer, the lift stations. And then some other truck things, a 75 for the sewer truck. So something like that. So we're pushing what? Well, almost 3, 28, 29, some total, something like that.
So 2,000,008.
Around there, yeah.
Okay,
Townwide.
thank you.
All right, is that a good outline? You guys on board with that general outline? Anybody comments?
Yeah, can I make a quick comment, Ed?
Sure.
Yes, Joel.
Yeah, go ahead.
The 750,000 for the school feasibility study.
Yep.
Assuming that we get the invitation at the MSBA meeting in April, by the time we execute the feasibility study, select the board, the building committee and everything, I don't really see us spending the entire $750,000 in the next fiscal year. And please keep in mind, Ed, that we get immediate recompense from the MSBA because of the grant. We don't have to wait for it. So
Yeah,
I
but
don't know how
that's years out. That's down the road.
No. For the $750,000, we'll get that almost immediately.
Do we have to approve the project? They're just gonna give it back to us.
No, we get it whether the project goes forward or not, Ed.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool. Wow. Well, that's good. Well, anyway, we have to authorize it, so it technically becomes debt the day you authorize it. So.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up because according to my calculations, the MSBA would provide about $454,000 of the $750.
Oh, good. We'll get that back. Okay.
And we would get it, as Mr. Rowe knows, on a regular basis, on a monthly basis.
Okay, well, that's good. It only costs us, I don't know, 300 then. All right. Well, that's good. That helps down the road as far as getting the reimbursements. So anyways, that's kind of the plan. So is everybody pretty much in agreement on that? Are we good with that?
Yes, it's a good starting point.
All right.
Good way to put it, Bob. It's a good starting point.
All right, so we'll have to work the math because there's a lot of plus, minus, this, that, to get the math right. But and when doing the math, are we in agreement? We'll fund Cedar Hill with cash and borrow for the fire department. Is everybody okay with that?
Well, I think it's the way to go, Ed. If he's got to get the equipment, the quickest way to get it is if he's paying cash for it. So.
Right, yeah. It's the only, really the only way.
That was a good idea, Jess said.
Excellent idea.
Thanks, guys.
Although, yeah,
So,
You can say she's a huge fan of Cedar Hill now.
You didn't even have her
not the
head.
easiest path to 2/3 vote, so you got to admit he's got.
Jess, do you golf?
So it's going a little far, Ben. Still work to do.
all right, so that'll be the general outline. We'll scrape the budget, this extra money, blah, blah, blah. We'll get it all to work and pay cash for as much stuff as we can. And we have enough to cover the deficit and we're sort of home. So now you guys feel like voting some articles tonight or you want to wait till next week?
Let's just do easy ones then. Why don't we just?
That's what I want to do. I want to do the easy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could probably go through some of the more basic ones that.
Yep.
You know,
All right, I'll start them off. I would look to approve for Article 3, 4, and 5 right now.
Let me get my paperwork ready
Oh,
because.
yeah, yeah.
Mine ready.
Gotta get the score sheet ready.
2, 3, and 4?
No, 3, 4, 5.
3, 4, 5, hold on.
Article 3 is accept money for town roads. Article 4 is to take any federal and state bucks. Article 5 is to dispose of town property.
So moved, sir.
Ed, can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
On Article 5, has the, and Robin, if you can answer this, has the land been certified?
Has what been certified?
Has the, I know you're doing a conversion at the, in January with the treasurer's office, and she was certifying. Has that project been accomplished?
I believe it has. Bill, do you know for sure?
And if it hasn't, can we certify Article 5?
No, it doesn't
I'm
matter.
sorry, Rob,
Just authorize.
which one was that? Which one was that? Which one was that,
Article
Robin?
5. Article 5, that we certified.
You don't have to certify, just authorize it.
Yeah, it authorizes the selectmen to dispose of, just property.
Yeah. But she's certified. I think her list is accurate, if that's the question.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about the town, the foreclosures?
Yes.
Town-owned property?
Yeah, she
Yeah,
was
no,
waiting to certify those, and I'm just saying if we're gonna be selling those, I would assume they'd have to be certified before we could do that. If not, then.
Yeah, no, I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve Article 3, 4, and 5. To favorably approve. Are we all set now?
So can we approve 5 or not approve 5?
Yeah, we have to. It just authorizes for disposition. It doesn't matter about certification. That's to sell them. We're not that far.
I'll send an email confirming that tomorrow, but I believe so.
Yep, what happened? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can't hear
Oh,
Robin.
okay.
She's,
Yeah, she phased out. Okay.
She went mute and shut
All right.
her.
All right, here we go. We're gonna vote for Articles 3, 4, and 5 to approve. Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Jet?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Diane?
yes.
Scott?
Yes.
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 Ben?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Don Anzavino?
Yes.
D. John Rock?
Yes.
Marty West?
Yes.
Elliot, you show up?
Elliot is not here.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Enoch?
Yes.
Okay. So those 3 are
So
approved.
13, is that 13 yes?
We're missing one member, that's 15, it's 14.
Should be 14.
Oh, 4, I missed,
14.
okay, thank you.
So 3, 4, and 5 are approved. All right. Let's do. Where's the CPC ones?
$25.
Yeah, the budget is 25. Let's see here, 25. The fire engine, 36. And the supplemental COVID funding, Article 35.
Right, so 25, 36, 35?
Yep,
All right, so it's out of order, so I'll put 35, then 36, okay.
no, whatever, we'll do 25, 35, 36, how's that?
Yeah.
You'll have it all wrong, Dave.
I know. These consent agendas, they drive me nuts.
Okay, so Article 25 was the CPC budget. Article 35 is the supplemental funding, the 250 for the COVID fund, paid for by CPC with cash. And Article 36 is to restore the old fire truck, CPC cash, 185,000. So I look for a motion to approve those three articles.
So made.
Okay. Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Diane?
Yeah, yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Jess?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Joel?
Is one of those articles the restoration of that fire truck?
Yes.
And the answer is no.
Okay. John Anzavino?
Yes.
D. John Rock?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
Elliot's not here. Vaughn?
Yes.
Enoch?
Yes.
All right, 13 to 1.
13 to 1.
Ed,
13 to 1.
can we just step back 1 minute? Because you did 3 articles, and I'm just wondering, with Joel, was he okay with the other 2?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we do 14 to nothing on those 2 and 13 to 1 on the fire.
Which number was, can you remind me? Article
30, let's see, 30,
Was 36.
36 was the fire truck, so that's 13 to 1. 25,
25 and 35 would be 14 to nothing.
14 0.
So 14-0, hold on. Don't, just hold on a moment, Ed, if you don't mind.
All right.
Thank you, Joel. I got him, Ed. I'll catch him up later.
Okay. Trying to get a handle on, there's so much stuff here. Okay. Now, let's do the 2 school ones. Article 33, the feasibility study for 750, and creating the special ed fund.
Say that number again, Ed? What
What,
number?
yeah, what numbers?
33, 34.
33 feasibility for 750, and Article 34 is the special ed fund to create it for the school, that whatever it's going to be. Another, what do you call it, stabilization fund for special ed. You want to do them separate, or just take them together?
Ed, I'm gonna be split on this, so if you don't mind,
We'll do them one at a time.
yeah.
All right, let's do Article 33, the feasibility study for 750. Do I get a second?
Second.
Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet?
I wasn't here for that meeting, so I'm not too familiar with these 2 articles. That was the night I think that was March 11th.
Chet, do you want to abstain, or?
I'm going to abstain, please.
Okay. Okay, Dave, Laurie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
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 Ben?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes, because Ben wants it.
John Anzavino?
Yes.
D. John Rock?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
Elliot's not here. Vaughn?
Yes.
Enoch?
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay,
All right, that's 13 yes and 1 abstention.
right, 1301. All right, so that was the feasibility study. All right. Now we'll do Article 34, the special ed, create the special ed stabilization fund. Doesn't cost us.
I'll move for that.
I'll second.
Okay. I'm never getting turn back money anyway, so Ed will vote yes. Bob?
You know, I just wanted to say something, Ed, before you get going.
Okay, go ahead. All right, go ahead.
Is the concern I have is that there are a lot of different things in the town that come up as emergencies. We could have, potentially, a broken sewer, you know, there's all kinds of funds you can end up setting up because of all kinds of emergencies. So when we end up with so many different stabilization funds in the town, it starts to distort where the priorities are needed. When you have fewer stabilization funds to draw from, it's easier to manage where your emergencies are. So I don't like to have earmarks all over the place with different stabilizations that are limited in how you could take care of an emergency. So that was my biggest concern about this article. It's not that I don't, it has nothing to do with my the concern about the special needs. I care very much about special needs kids. And I think that the school should feel very comfortable coming to town meeting and asking for the general stabilization to handle the special needs. So that's my reason for not wanting to vote in favor of the article.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Scotty.
Who's that? Scott?
Thanks.
Go ahead, Scott.
thank you, Eddie. I was turned around on this, and I'm gonna vote for it, and I'm voting for it because in my eyes, I agree with David that we only need a couple of these things. So in my eyes, I like the main stabilization fund, and I like this one because it takes a vote of the school committee and the board of selectmen, but they can get to it faster than town meeting. Like, say they needed it at a different time, they wouldn't get it if they didn't have the fund. You know what I mean? We'd have to call a special town meeting to release the funds and vote on it. That's the only reason why I was turned around. And when I served before, this was a problem. I remember we had a tough time finding funds. So I just think we have too many that are, like Dave says, we're gonna have one, next thing you know, we'll have it for taking care of the frogs and lake management and stuff. Everything's gonna be, right, special funds, but we only need a main stabilization fund, and I think the special ed one helps them out at the school side. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, Ed.
Yep.
I agree with both of the previous speakers. I was concerned when I first saw this, but when you consider how a need like this can pop up at any time, you have someone move into town whenever, and it's not unreasonable to expect you could spend $250,000 for one child. And as the school committee pointed out, you may have money that you could take because you have to do it. You're bound to take care of that need. And if you don't have money set aside and you just have to take it out of your budget, you're taking away from the rest of the school body to fund that. And I know, and I've seen it in the past where they've got hit pretty hard with one or two that come in unexpectedly. And I was convinced, the only quicker way to do that would be if the money was in with the finance committee, and they would have to come to the finance committee to get the money, because that can be done within a couple of days. But that's no different now with you have two separate boards. They both have to vote in the majority to remove the money. And in that regard, and there is a limit. So I'm in favor of supporting this. I think it's something you're going to need. And I think after this past year, with what we just went through, I would not be surprised to see a spike in need for the children after what they've gone through this past year, because I believe there's been a lot of damage done to these younger children, even the older kids, being isolated like this and so forth. You could see a lot of items coming up where they need to be able to help the kids through. So I'm in favor of this, and I do plan to vote for it. I understand Dave's concerns, and at first I was kind of leaning that way myself, but after hearing the school committee and Dr. Marcus and reading up on it and seeing the safety there, I do plan to support it, and I'm hoping the rest of the committee will do so.
Anybody else? All right, so we have a motion and a second. Time to vote. Head vote, yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet, you weren't here, you wanna,
Abstain.
you gonna abstain,
Yep,
okay?
abstain.
Dave Laurie,
No.
Diane,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Jess,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Don Anzavino,
Yes.
E. John Rock,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Elliot, no, he's not here. Vaughn,
Yes.
Enoch.
Yes.
All right, so it's the same thing, 1301.
12-1-1.
12-1-1.
I don't know, sorry, that's right, 1211, thank you.
That's what you got me here for, Ed.
That's it, Hawkeye, good old Hawkeye. All right, so that one's done.
That's why there's three of us checking these, Ed. We all check them out, Ed.
It's
That's
only
good.
math.
That's all good. Gotta make sure. Say the math. Rounding error, don't worry about it. All right, let's see. How about, Bill, what's number for the cable enterprise fund? Is it still 388?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
We're still 388, okay,
That's an easy one.
yeah. All right, we'll do the cable enterprise fund for the 388,000 for SMAC. And what about doing the revolving funds?
Wait, you got, Ed, please talk about the article numbers, because I'm not reading off of the warrant. So could you-
Article 10.
Article 10, the cable enterprise fund. I'd like to do 11.
Well, if it was the same number. Bill, are the receipts running that they should be able to meet that without a problem? I know we.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so, John. So we have 88,563 in retained earnings. So it would be what? It would be, a little over 380,000 from revenue. We should collect that with no problem.
Okay. All right. I know last year we ended up dropping it a little bit, but that's fine if you got the numbers there.
Yeah.
I move that we approve Article 10.
Second.
Okay, second? All right,
That's 10 alone then. That's,
yeah, we'll just do 10.
Yeah.
We get so many splits.
All right,
all right.
here we go, 10, Ed votes yes. Bob,
Yes.
Chet,
Yes. Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Jess,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Don Anzavino,
Aye.
D. John Rock,
You are correct, sir.
Marty,
Yes.
oh, Elliot, Vaughn,
Yes.
and Enoch.
Yes.
All right, 14-0. All right, that one's done. All right, let's do Article 11, revolving funds. Even though the new warrant cut off the older ones, the only change is the compost rain barrel from 1,000 to 2,300. I'll read off the other ones as in our first version of the warrant. Council on Aging, 50,000. Recreation, 150,000. GIS, 15,000. Youth Commission, 50,000. Community Events, 10,000. Conservation Commission, 50,000. Board of Health, 120,000. Stormwater, 50,000. And the compost rain barrel, 2,300.
That's Article 11, Dave, if you're looking.
Thank you.
So I look for motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
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 Ben?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
John Anzavino?
Yes.
D. John Rock?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
Elliot's out. Vaughn?
Yes.
Enoch?
Yes.
I'll take that as a yes. Okay. 14-0. All right, that takes care of that one.
Ed, while we're on that, just, Robin, you're gonna get that article squared away, right? Having the other put back in?
Yes, I will make sure that when the book comes out, that's all accurately reflected.
All right. Just to explain that, Ed, because when they changed it, it wasn't just that they changed the number, but they put in the fund and what, and the when they did the new one on the 18th.
Yeah.
They added some information to explain the revolving funds. And it ended up only doing the 2 funds.
Yeah, cut the top off, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what they had done was they added in what the program or purpose was in the receipts, the department receipts.
Yep.
And it needs to be put in.
Yeah, the whole chart.
As well, so.
Okay.
That's what I was referring to when I asked Robin if just to make sure that got corrected.
All right, let's see. Let's do Article 21. The I for 400,000. It'd be a borrowing, sewer fund.
What's the borrowing amount, Mr. Chairman?
400,000. The sewer enterprise fund. I need a motion to approve Article 21, I 400,000 sewer enterprise fund, a borrowing.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
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 Ben?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Don Anzavino?
Yes.
D. John Rock?
Aye, aye, Captain.
Marty?
Yes.
Elliot's not here. Vaughn?
Yes.
Enoch?
Yes.
Okay. 14-0. So that one's done. I don't, do we get assigned 23? I didn't, where's my chart?
No, we didn't do that. 23 is not ours, Ed.
It's not ours, right? Okay, that's what I thought.
That's what I got. That's what I'm using, the
You
assignment.
got the X's? You got the X's? Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'm using the assignment.
Yep, all right, that's not ours. So let's do Article 22, the stormwater permit, $100,000. It's gonna have to be a borrowing.
That's that compliance one we were talking about, right?
Yeah, I don't know, the M5 or G5 permit thing. Whatever it is.
Is that Article 22 you said, Eddie?
Article 22, yes, stormwater, permit stuff, 100K.
And just to recap, we agreed that we would just take care of this one and not try to block it. We were talking about this in the budget. We were scraping the budget.
Well, it's gonna stay as an article and not go in the budget.
Not go in the budget. Okay.
Right.
So, all right.
So, Mr. Chairman, we're keeping this as an article, and I know we talked about possibly doing something with the budget, but we're not gonna do that now, is that correct?
Well, that seemed to be the general discussion a little while ago.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So we had a motion. Did I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. All right, so 100,000 is gonna be a borrowing. So, where are we? 22. Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
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 Ben?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
John Anzavino?
Yes.
D. John Rock?
Rock vote yes.
Marty?
Yes.
Elliot's not here. Vaughn?
I'm going to be voting yes, although I would like to see in the future that to remain in compliance with the EPA laws and stuff, that we would have this in the budget, but I would be voting yes. But like I say, I would like to see that in the future. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I agree with Vaughn.
Next year. Dr. Graham, it's in the budget next year. Okay, Vaughn, yes, and Enoch.
Yes.
All right, 14-0.
Well, hopefully our revenues will be so good next year in actuals that we'll have more.
You're gonna have all kinds of federal money. You're gonna be flush.
An
Oh,
EPA
yeah. Well, yeah,
regulation.
but that's a short-term money. You're talking 100,000 in my budget.
Oh, gee, it's short term, imagine that.
An EPA
Okay.
regulation.
Yeah, an EPA an unfunded mandate.
Yeah,
That's what we
right.
call that.
About the environment.
That's
Well, it is.
why I asked about
Unfunded mandate.
this year, Vaughn, and pushing next year for having it in the budget. That's a year's notice that they're gonna have it in the budget.
Okay.
Eddie, how many more do you think you're gonna do?
Yeah.
Maybe a couple more. Unless
I
you guys
say,
have to
I
talk a
say
lot.
that I make a motion that we're done at 10:30, whether you're in the middle of one or not, I don't care.
That's fine. Let's do a couple more and that'll be it for today.
I object to that.
Overruled.
Way to take this turn quick around here. Oh my God.
All right, let's do, Article 27. The sewer lift stations. So borrowing from the sewer enterprise fund for $1,175,000. Someone's gonna have to do the math on the borrowing for that fund, boy.
None of us.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, could you please repeat that?
yes, Article 27, the sewer pump station upgrades. I'll give it a quick read. Town will vote to appropriate funds sufficient for the sewer pump station upgrades, including all incidentals and related costs at Royal Road, Queen Anne, and Beaver Brook pump stations. For
Motion
$1
to approve.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none.
What was the dollar amount on it, Mr. Chairman?
$1,175,000. And that'll be a borrowing from the sewer enterprise fund. All right, Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
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 Ben?
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
John Anzavino,
Yes.
D. John Rock,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Elliot's not here, Vaughn,
Yes.
and Enoch.
Yes.
All right, 14-0. All right. Fire station's out. Lake will do next week. Gotta get the money.
Hey, Eddie.
Yep.
You know, I know we had the spare, which we can discuss, and there may be discussion, and the Superior might come in.
Right.
I wanted to ask Robin, did she have any idea whether she was gonna get anything from Faya?
We're close. We're just bantering around some terms, but I have to put it in front of the board. If I have something with them tomorrow, I'll probably talk to Mary tomorrow. If I have something tomorrow or Monday, I could get it in front of the board conceivably Tuesday. In which case you'd have to reopen your public hearing for Wednesday or Thursday, I'd have to get it on your agenda.
Well,
I'm trying, I don't want to say no and completely shut this group out. They're not, you know, there's some of our employees that are not the highest paid, and I just hate to exclude them if I can manage to get it in, that's all.
well, I mean, we're closed the hearing, but if we had information, it might help. So, all right, never mind that. I'll let it, I was gonna say.
We'll leave it for next week. Push it out.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Article 15 is a supplemental. You want to just refer to that to town meeting? Right now, it's nothing, but I don't know. Things could change between now and the end of the year, but.
Well, right now, we're standing at 0 for the supplemental, correct?
Right, correct.
Well, if we don't have anything, I move that we just refer Article 15 to the town meeting.
I would agree. Do I get a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay.
I
Ed
just
votes yes.
I have
Any
a question.
discussion?
Yes,
Yep.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, good.
Referring to town meeting, are we using that statement, the Dave statement, because we have no information on this? So I'd like to clarify the motion.
No, I don't think this is that particular case. This is just, as of now, no department requests.
I guess.
I think we could put it in that it was referred to town meeting because there were no supplement, there was no request at this time or something.
At this time.
We
Fine,
get-
yes.
I want to be clear so that when we
Right, because the fact that they got 100,000, come town meeting, I agree, Vaughn, that I would say, I would take that as a friendly amendment to the motion, that we clarify that we're referring it because we had no request at this time.
because there were no requests. Okay.
All right, we go with that?
How does that sound?
Yeah, no requests
done.
by the time of the vote.
All right. So we amended that. We got a second, so we're gonna vote. Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
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 Ben?
Yay.
Joel?
Yes.
John Anzavino?
Sure.
D. John Rock?
Okey dokey.
Marty?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
And Enoch?
Yes.
Okay, 14-0.
14-0.
That's done. Okay, we're gonna hold those. Referral funds done. Sewer, water, public health. We did those three. Deposits we can knock off, next week. Those are easy. These three we don't have to deal with. So,
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Oh, second.
you wanna do the rest next week? That's
Oh.
fine. We gotta clean up a couple things anyways, some
Yeah, we
totals.
need, no sense.
Okay, you want to adjourn? That's fine. I
Please.
can go with it. I heard a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We're gonna meet,
Wednesday,
next
right?
Wednesday and Thursday. All right. So, Ed votes yes. Bob?
Yes.
Chet?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Jess?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Joel?
I guess so.
John Anzavino?
Gonna have to, nobody else is saying.
D. John Rock?
Thank God.
Welcome.
Marty?
Yes.
And Vaughn?
Yes.
Very,
Okay.
very quickly, just 2 seconds, I just want to thank the
Hold on,
committee.
take my vote.
I'm sorry.
Enoch?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we're good. Now, good.
I just want to thank this group for voting the budget, and supporting the budget together to close the gaps and working with our free cash and trusting me this year with the current budget to hold my money and promise you that I would get it back to you. I appreciate the trust and I appreciate the camaraderie on trying to get this budget together, because it is extraordinary times, and I just am so proud of the town, and it's such a great pleasure to work in this town where through a pandemic, despite the fact that we are not a wealthy community, we're weathering this well, and I appreciate the teamwork and partnership on moving this forward to town meeting. So thank you very much.
You meant
I don't think we voted the budget,
we
did we?
haven't voted this year.
That's next week.
So
But we have a.
that was a little premature. You may not vote this
No,
next week.
I'm talking about the fact that tonight you came to some agreements on how we would work out the deficit and whatnot. So that is, I know you haven't voted the budget per se, but we are just.
I thought you were talking about Cedar Hill. What a turnaround.
I know. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
I really do appreciate the support tonight and working out those numbers and closing that deficit and finding a healthy way to use cash where we can and all of those things. So I really do appreciate the work on as we close out the public hearings on this. And so thank you very much.
All right, good
You're
night.
welcome.
Can I make a request, Dr. Krim?
Yes.
Can you go back up to the other room that we're
I promise.
closer to the router? So we're not hearing you in mid-sentence, just stop.
Okay, so the
Thank you.
Godfather truth is I had no time to eat dinner tonight, and so I just came down here so I could eat.
Either that or Tricia's gotta give you a really long Cat 45 cord.
Yeah, right through the house, so I
Right through
promise.
the house, it's gotta go.
That's why I wanted to adjourn. I need something to eat. My sugar's going down.
All right, thank you, Robin.
Hey,
I get cranky crankier when I don't eat crankier.
good work tonight, everybody. That was good. We got some good stuff done tonight. That was good. So,
Thank you, everybody.
see everybody
Good
next
night.
Wednesday.
See
All
everybody.
right.